It's March 1976. The people in Kenya are on the street protesting. They are all carrying placards against Uganda dictator Idi Amin.
Amin is a bloody crazy. He's a bloody shit.
He's a daydreamer.
A Ugandan man-eater.
Amin has claimed that almost half of West Kenya belonged to Uganda when the British ruled Kenya and Uganda jointly on what was known as the British East Africa Company.
I am speaking as a great man who is the conqueror of the British Empire.
Towns like Nakuru, Kakamega, Kisumu, Naivasha, and Lake Turkana were unfairly given to Kenya during the partition, and he wants them back.
He has turned the Pearl of Africa into a human slaughterhouse.
I want to see that the whole Kampala street is not full of Indians. They must go to their country.
No anybody intention from now onwards. I wanted to be very friendly to entire world community. Thank you very much.
This is the story of greed, power, and one of the brutal dictators in East Africa.
Like and subscribe.
When the British arrived in East Africa in late 1880, they saw land filled with resources and wealth. And what would you do when you find an opportunity? You grab it and you find a way to monetize it.
Among many engagements, the inspection of Kenya coffee, famous throughout the world, was an obvious priority.
And of course, everybody wants this kind of opportunity. So you solidify your ground. By 1885, the Berlin Conference divided East Africa among European powers, with Britain getting a large area portion of East Africa. And by the year 1888, the British made the whole of East Africa a company which was named the Imperial British East Africa Company. But there was a problem. You could not link Uganda with the coastal area. In just 5 years, they managed to link the two areas by constructing a railway, which was known as the Ugandan Railway, which was done by 1902. The railway came in handy by connecting the interior British East Africa, particularly Uganda, with the Indian Ocean part of Mombasa. Which enabled efficient transportation for economy, transport of goods, and troops. Years went, and the railway line proved to be more efficient as urbanization and economy grew alongside the railway. Over the time, the British thought it was wise if they transfer the railway from East African part of Uganda to East Africa Protectorate, which is Kenya. The big move decision was because for financial reason, and it was also better if it was overseen by one British colonial administration rather than two. And what is the best way, since you just can't adjust and readjust a railway line? Move the borderline. As you can see through this early map, Kisumu, Nakuru, Busia, West Pokot, Lake Turkana, and other towns are literally in Uganda. As a result, the borderlines were pushed back to the railway end of Lake Victoria, and cities and towns like Migori, Homa Bay, Kisumu, Vihiga, Kakamega, Nakuru, and Lake Turkana ceased to exist in Uganda Protectorate and were now in Kenya. After years of colonial battle and resistance, there were signs of hope and freedom. October 9th, 1962, Uganda attained its independence, with Milton Obote heading the sovereign nation.
In the new Africa, one more independent country, the state of Uganda.
At Entebbe Airport, Prime Minister Milton Obote and His Highness the Kabaka wait to greet the Britannia, which brings the Duke of Kent to represent the Queen at the Independence celebration. In a moment, the 4th Battalion King's African Rifles becomes the 1st Battalion Uganda Rifles. And to replace the Union Jack, the black, gold and red flag of the new young state, Uganda is born again, free and independent.
A year later, in December 12, 1963, Kenya was free from the British, with Jomo Kenyatta spearheading the nation.
I, Jomo Kenyatta, being chosen and admitted to the cabinet in Kenya, do swear.
With the transitional government move from the British to African control leaders, both governments were tested. (1971) was the year. Ugandan President Milton Obote, who had attended the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Singapore, was overthrown by the commander of Ugandan Army, Idi Amin.
The members of the Uganda Army and Air Force decided to take over from the civilian rule because of the last arrangement which were made by the Dr. Abraham Milton Obote to disarm the whole tribe of Uganda except his own tribe Langi and Acholi. And also that is the point which brought all this problem.
Months later, there was a plot uncovered to overthrow Jomo Kenyatta, which failed, and so plot leaders Chief Justice Mwendo Kitili and Army Defense Staff Ndolo accused and tried in courts. It was still a hard question to answer whether Africans were free indeed, or there was a civil war among African leaders led by power and greed. But something bizarre is happening in Uganda. Idi Amin, who has seized power from Milton Obote, is promising Ugandans a new country full of hope.
No anybody intention from now onwards. I wanted to be very friendly to entire world community. Thank you very much.
Most people in Uganda believe his radical ideas, and they even give him nicknames like Big Daddy, Dada, and the Gentle Giant.
You take care of me to that end.
Can you swim across with one arm up? Come.
But is he really gentle? For those that don't support his ideas, he brutally wipes them out.
He has turned the Pearl of Africa into a human slaughterhouse.
Barely 9 months after he had clinched power, he shifts his attention to the Asian community in Uganda. During the building of the Ugandan Railway, the British dropped 100,000 Asians to help in the building of the railway. When the railway was done, most of them settled in Uganda and turned Kampala town into an economic center.
Until now, the Asian community, 80,000 out of a population of 10 million, has controlled Uganda's economy.
The Indians first moved into the interior of Africa at the turn of the century when the British built a railway from Mombasa on the coast to Uganda. The descendants of the railway workers and the traders who followed laid the foundation of the Asians' wealth.
December 1971, on a press conference, Idi Amin accuses them of tax evasion, discriminating Ugandans, and also exploiting Ugandans economically.
The Asian community had only received an invitation to send representatives to meet the president overnight, and some of them frankly admitted that they were too frightened to attend. Finally, a dozen of their leaders gathered at midday at General Amin's house, the command post as it's called, to learn their fate.
From experience, we discovered that Asians are very, very shrewd.
Months later, on August 5th, 1972, Idi Amin gives a statement that all Asians should leave the country.
Uganda will be independent after this, my decision, after I want to see that the whole Kampala street is not full of Indians. It must be proper black, and administration in those shops is run by the Ugandans.
Would you like to get all Asians out, really, sir?
Yes, they must go to their country.
The people in Uganda rallied behind Amin anti-Asian propaganda idea. All the Asian businesses and shops are literally given to Ugandans. Years later, Idi Amin radical ideas did not work, as economy was tumbling down in Uganda. Ugandans who had been given the Asian shops, they did not have basic knowledge to run a business, as some ran out of stock and others were closed. According per capita, the GDP in Uganda is taking a nosedive downwards, but Idi Amin's eyes are stuck on a bigger prize. In February 1976, Amin claimed that almost half of Kenya belongs to Uganda. Now, do you remember the British East Africa Company map? Yes, this one. Idi Amin claimed that during the partitioning, some parts were unfairly given to Kenya that belonged to Uganda. Towns like Kisumu, Nakuru, Vihiga, Kakamega, and Lake Turkana should be in Uganda, and therefore he wants what was theirs back. That year in March, things started to escalate in Kenya, as anti-Amin rallies were held across the country.
Amin is a bloody crazy. He's a bloody shit.
He's a daydreamer.
A Ugandan man-eater.
Leading Kenya is Jomo Kenyatta, a man who can match Idi Amin's ego. Amin troops, in one instance, crossed over Uganda to Kenya in pursuit of cattle. Tension was really fueling up. Jomo Kenyatta, the Kenyan president, decided to act fast and wise by boycotting Ugandan goods and putting economic restriction of products that came through Mombasa. Essential things like fuel to run the Uganda economy were blocked at the Mombasa port. As the blockade was ongoing, a group of Palestinians hijacked Air France Airbus aeroplane and they seek refuge in Uganda and Entebbe airport. On board, there were 106 hostages who were believed to be of the Jewish race. Amin somehow disliked the Jews as Hitler did.
From Israeli alliance because Israeli are criminals and that they are not trusted people. They don't tell the world the truth.
On 4th July, the Israelis launched a hostage evacuation program which is known as Operation Thunderbolt. On the Entebbe airport, the Israelis commandos managed to save almost all the hostages, as 2 did not survive the gunfire. The Israeli commandos flew the hostages in Kenya basically to refuel and some of the hostages to be attended medically.
I would say that the speed in which that operation took place found all the terrorists and the Ugandese forces in such a surprise that enabled the battle to be over so fast. And no doubt, most of them did not understand until the last moment what really happened.
To Amin's mind, he was convinced that Kenya was on the side of Israelis, and in retaliation, Amin cut electricity supplies to Kenya from the Jinja hydroelectric power station. Tension rose as the two countries were on the brink of war, and an urgent solution had to be found. The leaders decided to talk, where a peace treaty was negotiated and signed in August, which was known as the Organization of African States. Uganda agreed to put an end to a hostile propaganda against Kenya, and Kenya on the other hand decided to let goods flow freely from Mombasa port to Uganda.
I have no any bad intention from now onwards. I wanted to be very friendly to entire world community. Thank you very much.
What purpose does war serve? Does it fill a void in some people's empty space? Does it unify a failing nation? Our neighbors, Tanzania, were not so lucky, as Idi Amin attempted to annex Tanzania, Kagera region in 1978.